Hello, I'm Jamila Musayeva, an international etiquette consultant and author of Etiquette books. In today's video, we're going to talk about how to best prepare for a job interview, including what are some elements of a job interview etiquette. This is going to be a very lengthy video, so make sure that you embrace that patience that you have and you make yourself a nice cup of tea. Sit down, relax, take a notebook and a pen, and make sure to take notes of 14 important points that I'm going to be mentioning in this video. The point number one, which is the most important thing that we need to take into account prior to getting ready for a job interview, is obviously how we look. Because as we all know, it only takes about 7 seconds to make a first impression. I actually would say that it takes even less than that. So in order to make sure that you make the best possible impression, make sure that you dress to impress. I've actually done a separate video on that. Make sure to check it out if you want to learn more in depth about how to dress to impress. But most importantly, what you need to keep in mind is that whatever you're wearing has to be formal, professional, representative, not just of your personal style, but also of the company ethics. The most important thing when it comes to dressing up is making sure that you look neat, that you look clean, that the clothes is fitting you well. And if you're ever in doubt as to what to wear, always opt for more modesty, because majority of the companies usually favor conservatism in the company culture. Of course, there are different kind of companies now that are allowing people to dress up as they like in more casual clothes. Make sure to check the company ethics before you're going for an interview to know how to best make the first impression. When it comes to accessorize, it's also important to take note that your accessorize should always be very subtle. And when it comes to accessorize, you want to make sure that your bag, your shoes, any accessory jewelry that you're wearing is very subtle. You don't want them to overpower you. You don't want big chunky labels on them or big drawings on them. You really want to keep it subtle. And for this video, I've actually partnered with Songmont, which is a premium leather bag company. I adore their bags. I have a few in my collection. The latest that I have in front of me is the Songmont Luna bag, and I love the fact that I can wear it in very versatile forms. I can wear it in my hand, I can wear it as a crossbody, I can wear it over the shoulder because it has a strap that can be taken out, and you can pretty much wear it for everyday wear as well as for work or even for a cocktail party. It goes well with pretty much every attire, any monochromatic attire, be it white, black, navy, gray. It works perfectly well. What I love about the bags is that they have such an amazing quality. They are holding the shape really well. They're made of a very good premium quality leather. And you have probably noted I have a lot of notebooks with a similar color or the similar texture of leather. I really love this, and I love this kind of a leather because it's so durable and it's really scratch resistant. I also love the fact that the hardware has been gold plated. That makes it super resistant to fading, and that makes it look pretty much new anytime. You know, it doesn't wear off, and that's very important when you have a bag for years and years in your collection. I also really love the fact that it is very voluminous. It actually can hold a lot of things inside, though it looks pretty small, but I can assure you I fit a lot of things inside. Use my affiliate code shown on the screen as well in the description box below to get your discount. So ladies, if you are in doubt as to what kind of or what size of bag to take, do I take a shopping bag with me? Do I take a clutch to an interview? I would urge you to take something like a Songmont Luna bag that is spacious enough that it can fit into your personal belongings easily, like your phone, your notebook, a pen, maybe your keys from an apartment or a car if you have, or your wallet, your business cards. So it's spacious enough to fit all of that, but at the same time it has a flap to close, so it looks neat, nothing is seen or visible. And also, if you don't have a place to check your bags outside, say at the front desk or reception, you have to walk in with a bag to the room, and you don't want to be overpowered or overburdened with a lot of like big chunky bags. You want a smaller bag that fits a lot but also makes you look elegant, and I think this Songmont Luna bag is a perfect size for that. This is also important because when you take a seat and you want to leave your bag, you will not be putting your bag on the floor because it's small enough to fit behind you on the back of the chair, and that obviously creates a much better impression of you when you're seated and your bag is behind you rather than when it's on the floor. I think for men it can get a little bit trickier if they have bigger, folders, bigger bags to handle. I would always urge you to check your personal belongings at the door by the front desk or reception before you walk in. But if that's not the case, it's not available, then you can leave it wherever the interviewer points you to leave it at. One of the important ways to dressing to impress is actually planning your outfit days in advance. I would even suggest maybe a week in advance, because sometimes you need to go last minute shopping. You need to check that your pants are fitting you well, that the skirt is, fitting you well, that the zipper is working, that the buttons on your shirt are still fine, they're not broken, that there are no stains or blemishes on your shirt, or no pills on your sweater. Whatever it might be, you need to check your outfit days in advance, because the interview process by itself is very nerve-wracking, and the outfit is the last thing you want to think about on that day or days prior to that. You really want to focus your attention on something else, on how you're going to get there, how you're going to be answering questions. So thinking about your outfit should be planned a week ahead, at least. I would suggest so. But of course, if you don't have much time, it could be just a day or two before the interview is really important. And something that I would also note is that dressing into your outfit that you're going to be wearing for a job interview and rehearsing a day in advance in that outfit is really going to help you a lot with how you're going to feel at the interview. I always call this as, when actors are rehearsing their, big performance, they always do a dress rehearsal a day or two before the actual performance. And the reason is that they could feel the character, that they could, sit and stand and make sure that the costume is fine. That's what you need to be making a day before the interview. You have to make sure that you are comfortable in the clothes, that when you sit up and stand up, everything's working well. And also it puts you in a certain mindset that you're going to be during the interview. The second important thing that you need to be doing way before the interview is doing your research about the company. Say you apply to a company, you just saw an announcement, you just sent your CV because that position sounded like something that you wanted, but you have no idea what about the rest of the company. That is a big mistake. It is okay to apply to a company that you have no idea about, but it's your duty now, once you have sent your application in and once you've been invited for a job interview, to do your research. That means you have to know everything possible that you can learn about the company. The more you learn about the company, the better off you're going to be. Because sometimes, actually most of the times, the interviewer will tell you, ask me anything you want about the company, and you don't want to ask questions that can be answered on the website. So if you ask, what is your grand vision for this company, they could tell you, you can check our website. Or if you ask something generic that could be found on a website, that will not be considerate of you. They will not take you seriously as you haven't done enough research. You have to know everything that could be Googled about the company, and when you're asked to, tell me what else you want to learn about the company, your questions should be the ones that cannot be answered on the website. The third important thing that you need to take care of way before the interview, I would say days before the interview. Think about it. If you have been doing this, maybe you know of the process of visa application to any country. You have to collect all your documents into one folder. You have to have extra copies of it in case they might ask you at the embassy, if you're going for an interview at the embassy. It's better to be over-prepared than under-prepared. No one has ever been hurt for taking an extra copy of some document that wasn't even asked for. It's always important that you make sure that you have enough copies for every interviewer. Say you're invited to an interview, you think there's going to be just one person and there are 3 people that are interviewing you. So you don't want to come and give them just one copy, because now they have to share it. You have to make sure that you take at least 4 to 5 copies of your CV, your resume, your cover letter, any extra documents that you might need to show proof of, maybe your certificates. So you want to make sure that you bring extra copies with you. And it's important to keep those documents in a clear, neat folder. So in case if you have to take a long travel, maybe you're flying to an interview, maybe you're taking a train or a bus, or you're biking to an interview and there is rain, something happens on the road, you don't want to get any stains or any damage done to your paper. You want it to be neat, clean, so that it represents you and how you are, what your attitude is towards your job. So the trick is always in the details, and you want to make sure that you take care of those details way in advance of the interview. The fourth important point is Plan your route way in advance. See, a lot of the things that I'm saying is the things that you need to take care way in advance so you are your best prepared, your best possible version at the interview. A lot of the best performances are the ones that have been rehearsed the most. So the more you rehearse, the more you research, the more you prepare, the better off you're going to be at the actual day of performance. So planning your route is very important because, there might be traffic. The roads to that place might be blocked at the time. There might be construction going on. You ideally want to actually go and check out the office a day or two in advance to know how you're going to map out your road on the day of the interview. Always takes extra time. If you need to be there at 12, try to arrive there at 11:30. Don't, of course, walk into the office room at 11:30 asking to get an interview, but it's good to always show up earlier so you can take your time, maybe visit the bathroom to refresh your makeup, hair. Guys can fix their suit, their tie. If you've been sweating, maybe you can, wash your face. Make sure that when you step in, it doesn't look like you just came from the car into the office room. It doesn't look like you've been rushing this whole time, because when we are rushing, immediately the whole impression is that you can't handle time. Most likely you're not going to handle projects that we're going to give you. So being able to manage time is one of the important soft skills that people and companies are looking for a person who can well work within deadlines, can manage well projects by the time they are due. So making sure to arrive to interview on time and arriving earlier to fix yourself is very important. So if I arrive early, what do I do with myself? It's a question I get asked a lot by my students. And I always say, in today's offices, a lot of them are open space, and there are different kind of companies that have different kind of company buildings. Some of them might have a front desk and reception area where you can come, take a seat and wait for the interviewer to invite you. Others might not have that. Maybe people are working in that space and they're not waiting for you to arrive at this point. What you could do is always stop by a nearby shop, store, a cafe, a coffee shop to refresh, to wait out the time, maybe do some breathing to help you relax. So you actually show up to the interview place sharp on time. You also don't want to forget about it, so make sure that you put an alarm on your clock. So even if you're carried away with your thoughts, or if you're met someone that in a coffee shop, that you're not actually late to the interview. So that's something that you need to keep in mind. The fifth important step that I often urge my students to do is leave your personal belongings, your heavy outerwear, your hat, your scarf, maybe you have extra laptop handbag, a big shopping bag, maybe you were coming from somewhere else, and all different kind of life circumstances. So anything that makes you look burdensome, makes you look heavy, makes you look unpresentable, leave it outdoors. If there's a reception, if there's a front desk where you can check your things, ask them, can I please leave my things here? I'll go for an interview. I'll be back in an hour. But of course, people often say they're not responsible for your personal belongings, which is why I urge you to take a medium-sized bag where all the important things like your wallet, your keys, your phone, things that are valuable to you, you can keep it in your bag. Maybe for men it will be a smaller folder bag. For women it could be like the bag that I showed you in this video. So anything that is small enough to fit all the personal belongings, but not too big and not overburdening you when you step into the room to be interviewed. Because mind you, when you're walking in, your body language should tell you that you're confident, you feel fine, you feel good, and oftentimes the way that makes us look confident when we're not burdened by a lot of things on our shoulders. If you probably have seen someone carry millions of bags over their shoulders versus someone who only has a small clutch in their hand, if you can compare the two images, you can obviously see the difference in how it affects our posture, it affects the way we walk, the impression that we make on people. So it's always good to leave your belongings, not so valuable, away from the room that you're entering to make the first best impression. The sixth important step that you need to take into account is something everyone knows about, but very few people follow this actually. And if you want to stand out from the rest of the interviewers, you really want to make sure that you do. I was doing a lecture to one of these big oil companies here in Azerbaijan on business etiquette, and one of the executive managers actually asked me to raise a point about how disrespectful it could be when people are distracted by their phones, but most importantly, by their smart watches. It's one thing, we have already worked over turning on the notifications, putting on silent the phone, putting away the phone, but a lot of us still has forgotten that it's also important to do so with your smart watches when you are going for a board meeting, when you're discussing projects, when you're having a conversation with a colleague of yours. It is really so disrespectful. It's so annoying. It's the best word to use to describe the situation. When you are having a conversation and someone has put away their phone, but they keep on getting notifications on their smart watches and they keep on glancing at it every single second. I urge you to take a traditional, like a normal, non-technological watch to an interview so that you can actually manage the time, see, maybe take a glance once to see how much time you've been here so you can, manage your schedule. But please do not wear a smartwatch to an interview, or even if you do, turn on the notifications for that time being, because there's nothing more disrespectful than keeping on glancing at it. It's something that you don't do consciously. It's almost something that we are doing now out of habit. And I have met a lot of people that are very smart, are the best in their profession, but they have this bad habit that they've cultivated over the years of using smartwatches. So that's something that you want to stay away from. Stay away from your notifications on your digital gadgets for the time of the interview, at least. So now you've entered the room, all the distractions are away. You've walked in confident, looking pristine, looking good, having done all the research. Now it's time to greet, and it's handshake time. But as a person coming for a job interview, you are not extending your hand for a handshake first. You're waiting for the interviewer, regardless of their gender. In business etiquette, always the hierarchy in the company or in the situation takes precedence. So because they're interviewing you, they're at a position higher than you in the situation. Regardless of the gender, you wait for them to extend their hand for a handshake, and then you shake their hand. When you do so, make sure that your handshake is firm, it's web to web, and you maintain a good eye contact with a nice smile when you're handshaking. For men especially that love leaving one of their hands in their pockets, never do that. Always take out your hand from the pocket, the one that you're not handshaking with, leave it by the side. Always both hands have to be visible when you're handshaking. I've actually done a whole entire video on handshake etiquette. Make sure to check it out. I'll link it here in the video. So once you have handshaken the interviewer, or maybe a few interviewers, usually there's one that takes, is more important, is the chief manager maybe, and the others are assistants. So usually you can figure out the hierarchy, because the person who is in charge always takes the lead during the interview process. So you first handshake that person, and then the rest as they extend their hand. If they don't extend their hand, you don't extend your hand for the handshake. Next, you need to remember their names. And that is very important. If they happen to have a name tag, it's going to be easier for you, because you can always glance at the name tag, remember their names. Oftentimes they don't. So that's the time when you need to really focus on their names and try to use all kinds of possible tricks to remember their names. The best is try to ask them to spell it for you, ask them to help you pronounce their name, how to better pronounce their name, and when they are doing it, it imprints in your memory. Or if it was an easy name like James, you don't want to ask them how to spell it, or you don't want to ask them how to pronounce it correctly, you can try to think of an actor that you know who's James, or a friend of yours who's James. So when you do that, it also helps you better remember the name. You can associate with someone you know, or maybe you can associate with a name that you've been familiar with, and try to use their name at least 3 times throughout the interview. If the interview is an hour, every other sentence that you've been using, try to use their name. Say, oh, James, it was a very good question. You made me think about X, Y, and Z. If it's someone who is, older and has introduced them with their full name, then address them with the full name. Always address the person the way they have introduced themselves. Maybe his name is Franklin, but he says, hey, I'm Franklin Stevens, but call me Frankie. Then you can address them as Frankie. So usually the handshaking and exchange of names happens on foot. Now it's time to take the seat. When taking the seat, never jump onto the seat, never plunge into a seat without being told to do so. This is not your space. This is not your office room. This is an unfamiliar space for you. So you're almost like a guest in a house of someone. They're the host and you're the guest. Always wait for them to gesture you to the seat. So, they'll say, take your seat, let's get started. And only after they've indicated you to take the seat, you take a seat and do it properly, and the interview starts. So once you've taken the seat, you have to be mindful of your sitting posture the whole time. This is really something that really makes a huge impression on people when they're interviewing you. Obviously, they already scanned you, what you're wearing. They have scanned your body language once you walked in. They have noticed your handshake, how confident it is. They have taken marks on the fact that you have now taken the seat only after being pointed to take a seat, and now you're sitting. The majority of your interview is taking place in that posture. You want to make sure that you sit straight, that you do not put your back all the way to the back of the chair, that there is some space between the back of the chair and your back, and that both of your feet are firmly on the ground. You don't cross your legs, you don't lift your leg with the back of the shoe. This is a seating position that I actually see a lot of interviewers sit in, and I recently did an analysis of Snoop Dogg having an afternoon tea with a British interviewer, and it was the British interviewer, ironically, who had his feet and toes pointing towards Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg's foot were firmly on the ground. Ironically, but that was the case. It's a position that it's not just me who finds it disrespectful. Generally speaking, in a lot of countries around the world, a lot of cultures like the Asian culture, Middle Eastern culture, Southeast Asian cultures, they find it disrespectful when someone's toes or the bottom of their feet is pointing towards them. When sitting down, you have to be aware not only of your sitting position, but also the rest of your body. So you have to think about things that you might do unconsciously that you're unaware of, especially when you are nervous. Maybe you're fidgeting, maybe you are cracking your knuckles, maybe you are squeezing your hands, maybe you're rubbing your hands, maybe you're playing with your hair, your eyebrows, whatever it might be. You have to be aware of the rest of your body when you're sitting down. Even if you're nervous, just think about the impression it's going to make on the interview, how distracting it's going to be for them. If you are, playing with your hair or fidgeting, stop doing all of that and concentrate on answering questions. Now, speaking of answering questions and engaging in dialogue, always remember to watch not just your body, but also your words. And when you're watching your words, not only what you say, but how you say, both of them are equally important. It's important that you don't badmouth people, you don't do gossip, you don't, talk bad about your previous employees or your colleagues, whatever it might be. Even if something bad happened there, just do not carry the gossip to this company, because even if that was a true case and it was really bad for you at that company, whatever happened there, just stay there. Do not bring all that burden to this company. And also think of what kind of impression it's going to make of you if you are already speaking ill of your previous company to this new company. It never obviously makes a good impression, no matter who was right or wrong. Also, make sure that the way you speak is very eloquent, it's clear, it's precise. You don't use slang words, you don't chop words. Your answers are clear, they're logical. For you to best prepare for answering questions, I would advise you to come up with impromptu questions, or the questions that the company might ask you a few days in advance, a week in advance. When you're thinking about your outfit, think about the questions they might ask you. And you can use a friend, you can use your parent, you can use your colleague, you can use a mentor. You can maybe Google even to ask for advice, or chat GDP it to really see what are some questions that you can possibly get and what are possible answers that you're going to give. I would advise you not to use the answers that was provided by ChatGPT, because oftentimes, they're not, you can tell that it was not provided by a human. You can, of course, take their advice, take notes, but always modify it. Use your own words, try to create your own sentences, and obviously rehearse. The next important tip that I give to all my students, not just in preparation for a job interview, but in preparation to any kind of big social networking, getting to know other people kind of event, when you are engaging with other people, remember, do not try to be the most interesting person. Do not try to be interesting. Try to be interested. Of course, you're interesting to them because they've invited you already to a job interview. It's clear that they want to get to know you. But when you're out there just talking about yourself, how amazing you are, how skilled you are, and it might be right, you might have all those credentials, all that skill set. But if it's only all about you, then you don't need that company to where you can go ahead and start your own company, be your own founder, and have your own team. You are there for a reason. So it's really important to be interested as well in the company, interested in what they're doing, interested in the positions that these interviewers have. They love when you show interest in them as well as humans, because majority of the interview process is happening when they're just asking you and getting to know you. So it's really nice when people are interested in the person that has been asking the questions the whole time. So really have to do your own research beforehand so you know what kind of questions it's good to ask, the ones that could not be answered by the website, and it's really nice to get their input on that. And this is something that I say when people go to a networking event or a gala dinner or dinner party. I always say you have to not try to be the most interesting, but the most interested. We are always remembered when someone was listening to us. We are always remembered if we listen to someone really well. If you were a good listener, chances are people are going to call you a good communicator or a good person to talk to. Think about psychiatrists. No one ever says people love psychiatrists because they listen to them. Of course, you're not there to just listen. You're there to engage in a dialogue, but make sure that you are there to also hear about what they have to say. And now that you have finished the interview, answered questions, gotten to know the company, they've gotten to know you, it's time to thank the interviewer or the interviewers if there were multiple of them. And this is something that etiquette comes handy, knowing how to thank and when to thank. So the first thank you that you have to say is right after the interview. Obviously, when you are saying your goodbyes, you say, thank you so much for your time, for your consideration. Always note something that was particularly good about this interviewer or the interview process. I loved how you made me feel so welcomed. It was very nice chatting with you, or something that makes the person know that this interview was different or the way they handled it. So make sure to compliment their interviewer if you actually felt that it was a good interview. And you have to follow up with another thank you, and that has to be within 24 hours of the interview process. So maybe in the evening you can send a mail, or maybe in the next morning you can send it. Of course, it's now customary that we send emails with the subject line, thank you for an interview, a few lines as to why you enjoyed their interview and why would you appreciate their consideration of you for this position would be very nice. But it's also super extra nice if you handwrite a thank you note and mail it to their work. So you know already the address, you've been there, the address. So writing a handwritten thank you note will definitely make you stand out. It is something that I think very few people do these days, but if you're one of those that did, you're definitely going to stand out. Even if you don't get the job, it's still nice. They'll remember you for that handwritten thank you note. And the final advice from me to you that is not necessarily a step in preparation is just something that I advise to all my students when they're going for a college interview or a job interview is understand that this is not the end of life, that this is probably not even the beginning of your career, or maybe it's not even, it's just a part of a procedure that everyone has to go through. It's nothing personal. It's not about you. It might not even determine your life or your career at all. People go through multiple interviews that they fail at, and then they go to another company where they find themselves most, appreciated. So sometimes a door closes and then a new one opens. Sometimes no door opens and then you open your own door. You become your own founder. Whatever it might be, going into the interview process, don't make it a bigger deal than it actually is. It's just a Q&A with the person that wants to give you a job, and they just want to know if out of thousands of people you're a right fit for this particular job. You might be overqualified, you might be underqualified, maybe you don't have enough experience, but you might have another set of skills or personality traits that you have that are going to make you very successful in life. So just walking into there, think about it. Okay, this is just a job interview. If I do it, if I get it, great. If I don't, also great. If you have this mindset walking in, you will have a lot less anxiety, a lot more confidence, and after the interview is done, it's, you know, your life still continues. So for all those of you that are super anxious when you have a job interview or a college interview, don't think of it as the end of the world. It's just part of life, and we can all get rejections, and it's completely fine. Thank you so much for watching this video until the very end. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you took notes that you can use and apply in your life. And if you do get a job after watching this video, do let me know down in the comment section below. And of course, always leave your suggestions down below in the comment section. I always love taking notes on your suggestions. And if you want to learn more in depth about etiquette, you can get my etiquette books on my website. Also join my pre-recorded online courses on etiquette. One is on Western formal dining etiquette from A to Z. It teaches you everything you need to know how to attend a formal dining etiquette experience. And the second is called The Art of Entertaining at Home. It teaches you how to host people over at your own home with video tutorials that you can watch at your own leisurely pace. And if you want to know even in more depth about etiquette, you can join my Patreon Etiquette Movie Club, where every month I publish a new video dedicated to an etiquette review for a given movie. And so far I've done, I think, more than 40 movie analysis, from your Hollywood favorites to independent movies, and this is something that is exclusive only to my Patreon account. And if you are still watching me, this is for the very patient viewers of mine. I would like to show you the outfit of today's video. For this video, because we're talking about job interview, I want to wear something that would look, at least the top of it would look professional. So this is a dress by Zara. It's a very comfortable dress. I usually wear it with darker tights, but for today's video, because I'm seated in it, I'm just wearing the dress by itself, and I've paired it with a burgundy pair of shoes, which are closed-toe with a block heel, super comfortable, by Prada. And I have paired it with my beautiful Songmont Luna bag, which I love because it goes pretty much with any kind of attire, be it professional or cocktail. Thank you so much for watching this video until the very end, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye!